Hi everybody, we're going to show a game today from 1849 between Paul Morphy as white and his opponent James MacConnel, and it features Morphy's trademark style, very rapid development, attacking play, always asking questions of his opponent. It's got something quite unique about this game in that Morphy actually makes a tactical blunder, so see if you notice that along the way. Right, we'll go straight into the game. e4, e5, knight f3, fairly normal. Queen f6, that's a poor move straight away. We don't like to get our queens out early. Knight to c3, just a natural developing move from Morphy. Already you could say that he's looking at bringing his knight to the strong centre square and kicking this queen. So his opponent moves to stop that with c6. d4, striking in the centre, claiming a lot of space there and opening up this diagonal for his bishop. E takes d, and Morphy goes straight for the attack. e5, forcing his queen to move. Queen to g6, bishop to d3, so he's getting, Morphy here is getting activity for his piece. He doesn't mind the fact that his pawn's hanging because he's going to get a lot of, as I say, activity for his pieces. So the queen does come in and takes on g2, and the rook just comes across. This knight's guarded and the knight protects the h2 pawn, so the queen can either take the rook and then take the knight here. That's probably black's best bet, but most chess players don't like to give up the queen. So queen to h3, and Morphy plays his rook up to an even more active square. When the queen moves, he attacks it again, and we see the reason for that move after queen back to h3, because he plays a somewhat surprising bishop back to f1, forcing the queen to move. But when the queen moves, he's opening up the way for the knight to take the pawn here, again hitting the queen, getting material back and bringing the knight to a better square. So again the queen has to move, and then he brings his knight to e4, and he's looking at this d6 square here. Knight to d6 check, and the king's got to move. The knight will be on a powerful square and the king won't be at a castle, so that's how he's looking at building his attack. h6, I think this is a terrible move. This rook, I'd say black's got to be more worried about these knights from this rook at this point, but he tries to kick this rook. Morphy, knight to f5, hitting the queen, so ignoring his attack for now, hitting the queen. The queen goes to e6, and now he plays the knight to d6, the bishop takes it, and the knight comes in. Now because his c pawn and his e pawn are no longer there, and his e5 pawn supports d6, that knight can stay there as long as it wants to. It's a really strong position for the knight. So the king's got to move, and he goes to d6, and then this bishop comes back into play again with tempo, with time, because it's forcing the queen to move yet again. And the queen goes to e7, and now we see knight takes f7 check, forking the king and the rook. So when the king moves, the knight can take the rook, and white is already up hugely in material. But we have to look out for the fact that his rook is hanging too. So the king comes to c7, and Morphy trades queens here. Queen to d6, the queen takes, and a pawn takes check. Notice the knight cuts off d8, and so black only has one move, king to b6. So he makes that, and whereas Morphy was chasing the queen around before, now it's the king that's going to get kicked around. And Morphy continues, again developing a piece with an attack. Bishop checks. Now black can see that he hasn't really got anywhere to move his king. So he plays c5. The bishop takes on c5, check. Now it could come into a5 straight away, and that's what he does. Because if he goes to c6, the c7 square is taken away. These bishops take up these squares, and the king has nowhere to move from there. And if the king's got nowhere to move, if we can make a check, a safe check, then that's checkmate. And if he'd gone there, knight to d8 would have been checkmate straight away. So instead, he moves king to a5, and then here we've got a checkmate in 2 problem. So see if you can find the checkmate in 2. You might want to pause the video and then come back once you've had a go of that. Okay, so here's the first of the 2 moves leading to checkmate. Rook to g3, and then it doesn't matter which move black plays next, it meets the same fate. So it plays b5, but he could have played anything, and rook to a3 is checkmate. And if we look at the situation, pretty much all white's pieces are developed, apart from the a1 rook, and black's still got most of his pieces on the back rank. So very impressive attacking game from Morphy, apart from the fact that he made a big tactical blunder. Now you might want to have a look at the video again to see where it was, but otherwise, so if you want to do that, then do so, but otherwise I'll show the move. So when these knights came in and when h6 was played, knight to f5 was actually a blunder from Morphy, because it allowed queen to b4 check. In the game we played queen to e6, but this check threatens to pick up this unprotected knight. That's one of the things you should always look for tactically, unprotected pieces, and a simple fork check there. Now the knight can go to c3 where it's guarded, but the rook's still hanging, and that would have left black up a rook and a pawn. So Morphy might well have lost for that tactical blunder, but if we ignore that, then he played a very impressive game.